Have you ever wanted to cut cardstock or paper with your Cricut Joy Extra but weren't sure where to start? If so, this is the video for you. Hello and welcome to Craft with Sarah. In this video, I'm showing you how to make your first paper craft project with your Cricut Joy Extra. This is a simple little heart design and it's going to show you all of the basics of cutting cardstock with your Joy Extra, including cutting multiple colours with your machine. And we'll also look at how to upload SVGs into Design Space, how to change the colours, how to resize them, and then a step-by-step on how to get everything cut out. And of course, I'll show you how to put it together at the end. If you have a different type of Cricut machine, such as the Maker or Explore models, or the original Joy, which are the little blue machines, or if you have a different type of cutting machine, such as a Silhouette or a Scan and Cut, then instead of this video, head to craftwithsarah.com/help. From there, choose your type of cutting machine, and then there'll be a separate video that shows you how to make the exact same heart, but on your particular type of machine. But if you've got a Cricut Joy Extra, you're already in the right place, so let's get started. The first part of this video is the same no matter what type of cutting machine you're using. Once you've chosen the file that you want to make and you've downloaded it, whether it's from craftwithsarah.com or another source, you'll probably find that it comes as a zip folder. You'll need to unzip this or uncompress it before you can upload the cut file into your cutting machine's software. The instructions for doing that are a little bit different if you're on a Windows computer, a Mac, or a mobile device. On a Mac, you can usually just double-click on the zip folder to unzip it. I'll show you how to do it on a Windows computer, which is what I'm using shortly. If you're using a mobile device, whether it's Android or iOS, head to craftwithsarah.com/help, and on that page is a link to a more detailed video and tutorial on how to unzip folders on all those different types of devices. If you're on a Windows computer, find your zip folder. It will probably be in your Downloads folder. Right-click on it and press Extract All. Choose where you want to save it on your computer and then press Extract. You can see that's made a copy of the folder, only this time it doesn't have the zip on the picture, it's showing an open folder and it doesn't end .zip in the file name. So this is the one I want to use when I'm getting the file into my cutting machine software. Next, it's time to upload the SVG file into Cricut Design Space. Again, this is the same no matter what type of Cricut machine you're using. If you'd like a tutorial on how to upload using the mobile app version of Design Space, again, head to craftwithsarah.com/help, choose Cricut Machine from the list of machine options, and there's a separate tutorial in there. Click New Project at the start, and then Blank Canvas. Or a slightly easier way to do it is just to press Canvas on the top left of the screen, and that will open a blank project for you. Go into Upload along the left and then press the green button that says Upload Image. You can then either click Browse to find the file on your computer, or you can drag and drop it in. Make sure you choose the unzipped version of the download folder. If you're using one of my free SVGs or one of my newer designs, then you'll see a folder structure which looks something like this. You've got a 00 instructions file at the top, and then it goes down in numerical order with lots of different options. If you're using a Cricut machine, it's super easy because there's a folder in there called 01 Cricut version. That's really the only file that you'll need apart from the instructions and the assembly guide, and also you might want to keep these other three too. But you can delete, if you want to, the 02, 03, 04, 05 and 06 folders if you'd rather save some space on your computer, because if you've got a Cricut, you just need the one that says 01 Cricut version. If you're using one of my older designs, the file structure looks a little bit different and you'll only see a few files in the download folder. If that's the case and that's what you're seeing, make sure you choose the file that starts SVG in the file name. That's the one you need for Cricut machines. The SVG might be in lowercase letters or it might be in uppercase. That doesn't matter as long as you choose the one that starts SVG, that's the correct one to use. But if you're using one of the newer files, then what you want to do is go into that 01 Cricut version folder, and then within there will just be one file, and it will start svg-01 in the file name. That's the right one you want to choose. So I click and drag that in, and it will look like this. So it looks like a completed picture, but don't worry, once it's uploaded onto your project, you'll be able to see all of the different pieces that make up the design and all the different layers. Press continue, and then on this screen, if you want to, you can name your image or add it to a collection. I'm not going to do that. I'll just go straight ahead and press upload, and then it will insert onto your project. To see the different layers that are making up this design, you can click the arrow next to it in the layers panel, and that will then show all the pieces. I've chosen this design for this video as it's quite simple with only 4 different layers and it's 3 colours. So you'll be able to see as you follow along with me how we can cut different colours from cardstock with a Cricut machine. If you want to change the colour of any of the layers, you can do that by clicking on them in the layers panel. Make sure you've just got the one layer that you want to change the colour of, and then in the drop down here, click the colour, and then you can choose any of the colours in here to change it. If I move this over, it'll be a bit more obvious. You can also click advanced, and then you can drag and drop to get a wider range of colours. But I'm going to put mine back to that original red and cut this in those 4 colours so it matches. The next thing to do is to check you've got the correct machine selected in Design Space. Look over here on the top right and click where it says the machine type, and then choose your type of machine. For this video I'm using a Cricut Joy Extra. Now I'm going to show you how to resize the image for if you want to cut it at a different size. To do that, click on the design. Make sure the padlock icon above the width and the height is closed. If yours is open, you can click on it to close it. And then you can type either the width or the height into the box, press enter on your keyboard, and the other dimension will change in proportion so everything stays looking really lovely. However, I am going to cut mine at the original size, so I'll just undo that. And just like that, we're all ready to cut out. If you want to save your project, you can do that by clicking save in here. Give it a name, let's call it Heart Joy Extra. You can give it a category or a collection if you want to, and then press save. To begin the cut process, press make over on the top right of the screen. Design Space will separate out all the colours for you. You can see I've got a mat for my white, my red, and my pink. If yours looks different, you might see it looking more like this. If that's the case, that means that Design Space has decided that it thinks you're going to be putting something in without a mat. And if that's the case, that's incorrect. So what you need to do is just where it says Material Load Type, click into there and press On Mat, and it should look like this. Make sure you don't accidentally press on Card Mat, which is this blue one. That's something different. That's for if you're making insert cards or cutaway cards, which is not something we're covering in this video. So all of your colours should say On Mat. You can change the paper size if you want to in here. I'm using A4 cards, so I'll change it to A4. It doesn't make an awful lot of difference on this mat or machine because it's nearly the full size anyway. And if you do want to change the paper size, you will need to do that for every colour. If you want to move things about to use up less space on your card, you can click and drag. Just make sure that nothing overlaps when you let it go. I'm not sure that's actually saving me much space, but I just wanted to show how it could be moved. When you're happy with how everything's looking, press continue to connect to your Joy Extra. It might take a few seconds for your machine to connect to your Bluetooth. It will give you instructions if it's having trouble to connect. Pay careful attention to which mat on the left hand side is showing with this lighter grey colour, because that's the one that will cut first. I like to click to number 1 to make sure that it will cut everything in the right order, so I know that I'm definitely putting the correct colour of card on the correct mat at the right time. There's nothing worse than accidentally cutting the wrong shape out of the wrong colour. So I've gone up for number 1, which is my white heart. When I'm cutting cardstock on my Joy Xtra, my 3 preferred types of material are heavy cardstock, medium cardstock, and light cardstock. You can find those by pressing Browse All Materials and then type cardstock and hit enter, and then it will show you them here. To bookmark the materials so you don't have to search for them every time, you can click on this little flag to turn it green. It might take a bit of trial and error before you know what type of settings work best for your particular brand of cardstock. I usually go for heavy cardstock just to play it safe, but if you find that your material is tearing or ripping, go for a lighter setting. So this is now allowing me to change the pressure if I want it to put more or less on. So if you put more on, it will cut a bit more through, less, it will put a bit less pressure on that blade so it won't cut as much. I tend to leave it at default. So that you don't have to choose the cardstock for every colour, you can press Remember Material Settings. Next, this is telling me to load the normal blade that comes with the machine and then to load my mat. So let's take a little look at that mat and how to put the cardstock on it. The best mat for using with your Joy Xtra if you're cutting cardstock is a light blue mat, which is a light grip mat. It tells you on the edge. You can also use the green mats, which are the standard grip, but they are a bit stickier. So if you're going to use a green one, I'd recommend maybe one that's you've been using for a while for other things, so it's lost its stick a bit. This is a brand new mat, so it is going to be really, really sticky. First things first, peel the protective layer off so that you release all that stickiness. So this is now all sticky in front of me. If you have a brayer tool, this will be really helpful for cutting cardstock projects, as it means you can push all that material onto your mat to make sure it's really well stuck. If you don't have a brayer, a rolling pin from the kitchen works well too, or you can use a Cricut scraper tool. Scraper tools are also handy for getting any little bits of leftover card off of the mat. This is quite a big one. The more standard size are about half this size. Either works just fine. If you're using large cardstock, for example 12 by 12, then you may need a paper cutter or craft knife or pair of scissors to trim your material down so that it will fit on your mat. Anything that goes on the mat has to fit within these 2 white guidelines and the guidelines along the top and the bottom. For this project, I'm going to use up a scrap of card from another project. You can see I've already cut out one of these hearts. So to do that, I'm going to get my scissors and I'm going to need quite a lot of this. I'm cutting down so that I've got a nice straight edge, or straight-ish anyway, and then line it up along those white lines on the corner. You can go over a little bit, but try not to go over too much because it might cause the material to catch inside the machine. Push down with your brayer or scraper tool to get it really stuck, and then we can load the mat into the machine. Here's my machine so you can see. And then what I'm going to do is put my mat under these 2 little white plastic bits and then hold it against these 2 rollers, and then it will automatically take the mat in. Try to do it in one smooth motion. So you can start lining it up first, but as soon as you get over the sensor, you want to just do it as one if you can. So I'm going to go under and push against those rollers. And as soon as I touched up against them, it started whirring away. It's now pulling the mat through to measure it to see what I've put in, and it's getting all ready to cut. Now that the mat's loaded, it says that I need to click go. Unlike the larger machines, the Joy Xtra doesn't have a go button on the machine itself. You need to do it all through the software. So I'll press go here, and then we'll see the Cricut doing its magic. It's now cutting the outline of the heart. Don't worry if it does the same cut more than once, especially if you've used a heavier cardstock setting. If you do, for example like mine is now, use the heavy cardstock, it will do 2 goes around each of the lines just to make sure it's really cut through. If you've used a lighter cut setting, it will only cut it once. This is now finished, so now I can take a look at the screen in Design Space. It now says unload on this green button, so I'll push this and then it will spit out my mat. This is now ready for me to check it's cut through, which it has. If it hadn't, then you would need to cut it again and use another bit of card. You could try loading it in again and running it through on the same bit, but you'll probably find that it doesn't line up exactly. I just got my mat too close to the sensors, so it thinks I put the mat in and now it's getting all confused. Poor little cricket. We'll work that out in a minute. For now, let's take this card off of the mat. The easiest way and the best way to take cardstock off of a mat is not to pull the card off the mat like this, because you'll find that the card will roll and bend up and won't lie flat anymore. Instead, turn your mat upside down, gently start pulling it backwards, and then use your hand to get the first little bit of card off, and then hold your card flat against your work surface and gently pull the mat away from the card. So you can see I'm holding my card flat so that all of that bending is going into the mat. Be careful not to fold the mat, otherwise you might end up creasing or even snapping it. It's more of a gentle roll back. And then you can see that has perfectly cut out and it's all still nice and flat. So now I can move on to my next colour. If you're cutting a cardstock project with lots of pieces, you might find having a little dish to put them in so you don't lose them is a helpful thing to have. My screen is telling me now that the red is the next colour to cut. So let's get my red. I'm going to load this up on my top left, like that, and then brayer it so it's really well stuck. Before I load it into the machine, let's just take another look at the screen in Design Space so you can see what it's telling me at this particular point. There's now a tick against the white, which means that this one's already been cut, and you can see it's progressed automatically onto the red, which you know because this has now got the lighter background. It's remembered my material setting at heavy cardstock, which is good. That worked well last time, so I'm happy to continue with that. If you did want to change it, you can just click into it here and then change it to whatever you want. So once again, I need to get my mat loaded into the machine. Here's my mat with my red card on, and exactly the same, slide it under, although I'm just balancing my machine on its power cable at the moment, so it's not quite level. I'll just move that out. I don't want it to wobble around. All right, so under these two plastic bits and then push it up against the rollers. It's a gentle push and then hold it steady until it takes the mat in. Don't try and force it in. Don't push it really, really hard. You just need it to be enough that the sensor picks it up. Now my mat's in, it says click go. So once again, exactly the same. Press the go button and the Cricut will start working. That's now finished, so I can go ahead and press unload. Then I would do the same thing of holding this upside down and carefully pulling the material off. Keep it nice and flat as we go. And that is the red done. Here are my hearts all cut out, looking lovely. I'm going to carry on now off camera and get the pink cut out because that's exactly the same as you've just seen for the white and the red. And then once that's done, I'll show you how to finish the project off in Design Space and then how to stick it all together. I've now finished cutting all three colours, and now you can tell that at a glance because each of them now have this tick against them over in the left side, and also at the bottom it's now telling me I can press done and that will take you back to the project page. Now let's see how to stick together all the layers to make the finished heart. Now that I've got all of the pieces of my heart cut out, it's time to stick them together. I like to use a combination of glue and foam squares so that I can give my paper crafts some dimension. With all of my paper crafts, if you look in the download folder that you originally got from my website, there is a file in there called Assembly Guide. Open that up and that will show you the order that all of the layers go in and whether I recommend sticking each one with glue or foam squares. If you don't have any foam squares, you can just use glue and it will still end up a beautiful papercraft project. What I like to do before I start sticking is to put everything in order following that assembly guide. You can print out the assembly guide if you want so that you've got it with you while you're crafting. This one's pretty simple, it's only 4 pieces, so I can manage that one from memory. And there it is, so that's how it'll look when it's all put together. The reason I like putting all the layers on top of each other first is that I can check I've not accidentally lost anything along the way, and also that I'm just happy with how all the colours look when they're on top of one another. Because sometimes colours look great when they're next to each other, but when you actually start stacking them, you might notice that maybe there's not as much contrast or difference as you wanted, or maybe some of the tones don't go together very well. But that is all looking lovely. Any type of glue that you would usually use with your papercraft projects is fine. My current favourite glue is Bearly Art Glue, and I like this because it has a very thin nozzle on it, so the glue comes out really slowly, and it comes with a needle to put in so it doesn't dry out. This is a white glue, so it doesn't have a smell to it, it's nice and quick to dry, and it doesn't bend or wrinkle the cardstock like some wet glues can do. For similar reasons, I also like Collall. This also doesn't bend or wrinkle the cardstock, but for this one, it comes with quite a big nozzle, so you'd probably want to buy some needle tip applicator bottles, which are tiny little bottles with little nozzles on to put the glue into, to make sure you can get it into all the little areas of your project without kind of spilling it or putting too much on. Collall is a solvent glue, so it does have a little bit of a smell to it, so bear that in mind, especially if you are sensitive to solvent products. Another glue I also quite like, but I don't use as much, is this Nuvo glue from Tonic Studios. These have a nice thin nozzle to them too, and it doesn't bend or wrinkle the card as long as you only use a little bit of it. If you use loads, it can have that wrinkling effect, which is why this one is third in my favourites. And also sometimes I found that they get a little bit clogged and hard to use, but generally this is still a great glue. I live in the UK and I get all of these glues online. Bearly Art Glue and Collall I buy on Amazon, and the Nuvo glue I buy direct from Tonic Studios. If you don't have any of those glues, that's absolutely fine, just use what you've got. The foam squares I like to use are from Dot & Dab. Again, I get these on Amazon. They come in different sizes, so these ones you can see are quite small. It tells you the size here. These are 5 by 5 millimeters, and these ones are double, so they're 10. So you can choose which one you use based on the size of the card that you're making. If you've only got larger foam squares, you can cut them smaller with scissors. These ones are both white, but you can also buy black foam squares, which can help if you're doing a darker papercraft project with lots of dark coloured layers, so that you can't see the edges of the foam when you turn the papercraft around. But generally, I don't really find that's a problem, even if I use the light ones on a black papercraft. You don't normally see them poking through unless you're looking really hard at it, which I don't think you would be that likely to do. With all of my papercraft projects, you'll start at the bottom and then work your way upwards. I'm going to move these pieces apart again and then start with this one. So if you look at the assembly guide, you'll see for this one, this is a glue layer. So I turn it around, so this is upside down, and add my glue. You want a good amount on here to make sure it'll be well stuck. And then put it in the middle of the frilly bit. And it's a bit hard to see because it's white card on a white table. Just wiggling that around to get it in the middle. There we go. If I put my hands under, you can see a little easier. And then for this design, that's the only glue one. So I'll add the needle tip back in my glue, put that to one side, and then get some foam squares for the rest. Next up is the pink heart, which will be done with the foam squares. So I turn it upside down and add some foam. Now this is quite a small piece of card, so I can get away with just 3 pieces. If your piece is bigger, you'll need more. If you have got a large piece, for example, something about this size, then you would want to add some foam squares in the middle as well as around the edge to make sure that you've got good stability across the whole shape for when you stick it on. If you don't add anything in the middle, you might find your card kind of bends downwards, domes downwards like that, where it's got nothing to support it. So adding a few extra foam squares in the middle really does make a difference on those larger bits of card. But this one's tiny, so 3 is just fine. Peel the tops off, and then you'll find that these are sticky underneath. You might want to keep a little pot or dish handy to get all of those little squares in, otherwise they tend to go everywhere. And then line that up just roughly in the middle, as close as you can get it, and push down to stick. And I got one little heart left. This is even smaller. I'll go for 2 bits of foam this time. And again, put that in the middle. And that's my heart done. It would then be ready to go on a greetings card, in a scrapbook, in a frame. You could add a little magnet on the back and put it on the fridge. There's so many things you could do. It would also make a nice gift tag if you maybe punched a hole in the top. So that was how to cut cardstock on your Cricut and get all of the layers stuck together once they're cut. Now that you've done your first cardstock project with your Cricut, I can't wait to see what you make next. Cardstock projects are my favourite, and I have over 1,000 different designs over at craftwithsarah.com. If you'd like to progress to some of the more complex layered designs that have more pieces in them, such as this fairy door design, then head to craftwithsarah.com/help. Choose Cricut from the list of machine options, and then there's a separate tutorial in there on how to make more detailed layered cardstock designs with your Cricut. So if you're not quite sure how to go from just a couple of pieces to loads and loads of colours and different pieces, that video is what I recommend watching next. But for now, thank you so much for watching along with me. Bye!